Welcome back. Energy firm EDF has come under fire after a couple of high-profile customers highlighted sudden and extortionate hikes in their bills. Turner Prize-winning artist Sir Grayson Perry hit out at the company on X, formerly Twitter, saying his monthly electricity bill, wait for this, went from £300 a month to £39,000 a month, while former BBC journalist John Sopel said that he was notified that his bill was increasing from £152 a month to £18,000 a month. The post generated hundreds of responses, with many people sharing similar stories. But EDF says the issue is not widespread and customers don't need to worry. Joining me live is consumer and money expert Helen Dewdney, who's also known as the Complaining Cow. How nice to have you on, Helen. Good to see you. Thank you. I mean, my God, I think if I got a bill for £39,000 for a month's energy, I might just have a heart attack and die on the spot, or just collapse with shock and need to be, rushed off in an ambulance. I mean, how do you keep calm when you see a bill like that? My gosh.
I don't know. I think you have to laugh when you cry, don't you? But I think the serious nature of this is that clearly other people are getting these bills and they are trying to take them from the direct debit. And so for people who are vulnerable and people who may have that money in their account and it's going out, there are all sorts of connotations of how bad this is for people, really.
Yes, but what do we put this down to? Do we think it's a sort of computer glitch, or do we think it's carelessness, or do we think prices are going up and they're just not careful and considerate about what price they put on your bill? What's going on here? Is this just a kind of technical mistake or something more fundamental?
Well, we might think that people are using a little bit more energy as the days and nights are getting colder, but I don't think we're using £18,000 worth. I think there's certainly a glitch in the system. EDF have been making changes to their accounts in the system, so I think there haven't been the checks in place there. They haven't been putting the humans on to check things, and that when the bills are going through, there is not the human check. They have said that when bills are astronomically high, they check them, but it doesn't look like they are. There seem to be too many to be just a few of a glitch, and I think it comes down to poor customer service and Helen, not checking the system.
And talking of poor customer service, Helen, indeed, lots of people are saying it's really awful because they get this bill, they get the shock of their lives, they check and they realise they haven't done anything like use, as you say, £39,000 worth of energy in a month. So, of course, with their hearts thumping with the shock of it all, they get on the phone to try to speak to somebody at EDF to say, this is terribly wrong, it's not right, can you please rectify this, please don't, take the money out of my account, I haven't got it, all this kind of thing, as you can imagine, in a real panic. And they cannot get to speak to anybody. In fact, John Sopel said, my God, it would really help if we didn't have to speak to a bot. In other words, you can't speak to a bot, they don't talk to you. So what's meant to happen about customer service should this happen to you?
Well, I mean, you can phone, but obviously people are finding, I would imagine, that they're getting inundated with phone calls. That's possibly why they're also not getting through. But I would say in this kind of situation, the best thing to do is write, because then you've got the evidence. And if you write your complaint and explain the issues and your own readings and say what it should be or what you think it should be, that if they don't deal with that complaint properly, you can go to the Energy Ombudsman, and that you will have that evidence then to be able to go to the Ombudsman. You can say, sort this out, or send me a deadlock letter, because otherwise you have to wait 8 weeks, and then you can go to the Ombudsman. And if they're not providing you with an email address, go to ceoemail.com and get the CEO's email address. Now, they're not going to respond to you personally, but it will go into a different kind of system, and it will escalate the matter for you. So
OK, so very slowly and methodically, Helen, just talk us down from the ledge. Let's imagine we're in this absolutely appalling situation where you open your bill and it says £18,000 and it should be maybe 275 or 350, not 18,000. You're terrified, you're shocked, you're angry, you're all those sorts of things, your pulse is throbbing. What should you do? Tell us just methodically what to do.
Go to ceoemail.com, and put in, whether it's EDF or another company, put in the company's name into the search. That will give you the email address for the CEO, and that will help escalate matters. And then you can write to the CEO, explain the situation, say what's wrong, and say that if you're not satisfied, or if you're not fully satisfied with their response, you will take the matter to the Energy Ombudsman, and that will get you a reply. That will get you a reply.
That's
and if
really
it doesn't,
nice.
then you can take the matter to the Ombudsman, and then the Ombudsman will look at your case as to how much you should be paying, and indeed any goodwill gesture or compensation that the company should be paying you for frightening the life out of you and providing poor customer service.
Absolutely. Let me ask you something else. You're known and very, very popular indeed as the complaining cow, with the greatest respect, obviously. Are you finding that these days, towards the end of 2023, you are needing to complain more than you used to, that other people are seeking your advice in greater volume than they used to? In other words, that people are being worse served by providers, by retailers, by everybody than they used to be?
Absolutely. I think
Really?
there was, when we had the COVID and people were finding it difficult to get through to people, there was that time where people were giving businesses that little bit of slack and that little bit of consideration. But now, of course, that is quite a while ago, and things haven't improved. And we're seeing more and more use of bots. And that's what's really frustrating people, is not being able to get through. And then when they eventually get through to a person, they're even more cross and irate than they were to begin with, because they've had to go through this awful system of trying to deal with a bot as well. So it's taking longer to deal with complaints. And we've seen that from the Customer Service Institute, that we're also seeing that it's taking longer to deal with complaints because of this system where the customer service, where they're cutting, they're cutting the training, they're cutting the staff, and so complaints take longer to deal with as well.
And
people
Helen,
give up as well.
are there any honourable exceptions? Are there any exceptional companies or exceptional retailers who you feel deserve a special mention because they really do continue to provide, good old-fashioned person-to-person service and make you feel at least as if they care? No? Oh, dear.
No, because I think when occasionally you ask, and you might say, if there's a chain, for example, or if there's a chain of John Lewis or Marks and Spencer's or whatever, you might hear that. Well, my local store is really good, but then there'll be another one that isn't. So it varies. Even so, for retail, it will vary from store to store and from town to town. The energy companies are known for being really poor. So are telecoms, really diabolical. Both of them are always at the bottom of any customer service surveys and research into customer service. They're always at the bottom there.
So that means your work is not done, Helen. Far from it. You started complaining long ago, and you've got even more to complain about now than when you started. That's not good. Oh, dear.
No, and it's the amount of people that sort of need the help, and all we can do as consumer champions really is get that information out there to help people and empower them to get the matter sorted, and through the right routes, so that they're complaining effectively, putting that complaint in writing, being objective and getting it to the right place, and saying exactly what it is that you want, giving them a deadline. And if you don't get that satisfactory response, go to the Ombudsman, or go to court if necessary.
Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us.